Hey Guardians, in this week's episode, we have our third Guardian Downcast Roundtable edition for you, and we're doing things a little different this week. It will be our largest Roundtable episode yet, as I've invited 5 new guests to the table today, all from our UK Guardian Downcast community, and we have 5 new topics centered around gaming, all lined up for you. I had so much fun and fantastic conversation with these guys in this episode that I really didn't want to cut anything out. So in today's episode, we will catch up in our week in Destiny and express our opinions of the new Bungie Vidoc they just released last Tuesday. Then we will hear from the first 2 guests of the roundtable. They will discuss their topics and we'll, of course, go around the table with each of our viewpoints. And then on part 2 of our UK roundtable episode, which will be available on Wednesday, 2 days from now if you're listening to this on a Monday, we will hear from the remaining 3 guests, and they will present their topics to the roundtable. If you are a Todd the Gator YouTube channel member or part of our Patreon community, the video form of these 2 episodes will be available as well. So if you check out either my YouTube channel, Todd the Gator, or our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/support Guardian Downcast, you can watch these episodes unfiltered and unedited, all in 1080p, which basically means you get all the little outtakes in between. I'll post the links down below if you want to check it out. I think our topics of conversation keep getting better and better, and I hope you guys agree. So buckle up and enjoy the show. You ever wonder what makes a great gamer? Great gaming is not only about cheering on our teammates, but also being there to pick us up when we're down.
Guardian down!
We're a Destiny 2 podcast that focuses on 3 things: community, news around the gaming industry and Destiny 2, and thought-provoking topics in the game. We're Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. What's up, Guardian, and welcome to episode 247 of Guardian Downcast, the Destiny podcast. I'm your host, Todd the Gator, and I'm a Day 1 Guardian who loves gaming and the Destiny franchise. Welcome to the 3rd Guardian Downcast Roundtable UK edition. So just a reminder of how things work in the Roundtable. I've invited 5 guests on the show from our Guardian Downcast community, in which each has brought to the table their own story or topic of discussion related to Destiny, gaming, or other areas of this hobby we share. And after each member of the Roundtable has presented their topic and story, we'll all go around and share our thoughts and discuss it further. Think of this special episode as our normal topic of the week from our regular shows, but going a little bit of a step further. My goal in this type of episode is to get the conversation going around the community and even persuade you to sit back and maybe reflect a little bit on our topics today. So here's what's on tap today. First, introductions will be in order, and we'll briefly catch up on our week in gaming. Second, I will give a very quick Roundtable edition report on any pertinent highlights from this week in Destiny. That way you won't miss out on any important information or updates in the game. And finally, we're going to put the pedal to the metal and begin with our very first story and topic of the show, and our subsequent stories and topics will follow. This is a new format of Guardian Downcast that we produce once a month. So if you guys are ready, let's roll. Hey, thanks for listening to Guardian Downcast. There are several ways you can contact us. First, you can find us on X at Guardian_D_cast. Or you can find us on our Instagram channel at Guardian Downcast and see what pics and reels that I and our podcast guests want to share with you guys. You can send us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Guardian Downcast. You can send us an email at guardiandowncast@gmail.com. But if you just want to do it all in one spot, check out our new website. Just visit guardiandowncast.com. You can find all our contact info, leave us a voicemail, give us our show rating and review, search for any past episodes, or even get back to our community. Also, don't forget to sign up for future updates to the show, where we'll also have random drawings throughout the year, and you may win a gift card or even some Guardian Downcast merch. Our community thrives on interaction, so get involved and check us out. And later, Guardian. All right, some introductions before we begin the show today. I want to introduce our 5 roundtablers for this episode. Our first member of the roundtable is a longtime friend of mine who's also a part of our moderation team in the Guardian Down Cast Discord community. He loves to run raids and dungeons, and I'm sure his season pass rank is nearing 1,000, as he is a diehard Guardian enthusiast like myself. A man of similar age, some even say, and even though I try to get him to lose that cool English demeanor by attacking his warlock jumping skill set, he's always been a good friend. So please welcome Mr. Monkey. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm very good, thank you, Gator. And just for the record, my season rank is about 1,300. So slightly over 1,000.
Oh my God.
Humble flex.
Dude, I think I just hit 400 and I'm not even at 400 yet. And I'm pumping my chest up thinking, man, look at me. I'm already at 400.
You need to work on those bounties. Do you even do bounties?
I don't do bounties as much as I used to. I do bounties every day. I just don't do all the bounties every day. So I'm very happy you're on the show tonight, Mr. Monkey. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
Our second guest of the roundtable has been a longtime supporter of the show and community and pops in to say good morning to everyone. He has the coolest job, in my opinion, runs a salvage yard in the UK. In other words, he gets all the best parts from all those Audis, Mercedes, and BMWs before anyone else does. He's a streamer, a podcaster, and is such an avid Destiny 2 Guardian that it's in his gamertag. Please welcome Average Destiny 2 Player. How are you tonight, sir?
Tell you what, man, you're making me blush. Thank you very much for the beautiful introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm doing good, thank you. How about yourself, sir?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited about tonight. So thanks for stopping in tonight. And I can't wait to hear what you're talking about because I think we kind of share this topic tonight. For the record, I did not bring a topic on tonight because we have 5 wonderful topics tonight that we're going to hear from. And my job tonight is going to be to direct traffic, talk here and there. This will be probably one of the podcasts that I talk the least on, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners will love to hear. So our third guest of the roundtable today has been a longtime member and moderator of our community who gets a first look at all the latest tech on the retail market these days. He's the poor soul who gets those tech questions from your grandparents like, where do I plug this into my TV? He's a longtime Guardian as well, and probably the youngest guest here today who always likes to get this old man all riled up. Please welcome Hades. How are you tonight, man?
Hello, I'm all right. Happy to be here. Happy to not at all bully anyone here, being half of some of your age or anything.
Right. I saw the pic of yourself and Heyoka that you sent in the Discord. That was an outstanding pic. I'm so glad you guys were able to meet up in real life. That was really cool. I'm so happy you guys sent that. Fault. Yeah, my fault. You can blame me. I'll take the hit for it. No problem.
Blaming you entirely. That's one of the nice things I'll say to you this episode.
I also like your topic tonight as well, Hades. So I'm looking forward to talking with you on that. Thanks again for coming on tonight.
So good. Thanks for having me.
Our fourth member of the roundtable is a UK child psychologist who helps kids cope with crisis and abuse in their lives. He's also lived in the United States in his youth as he was part of a touring dance troupe. All I know is he has a very interesting life and was probably my most surprising interview when he was on one of our past shows. He's also a longtime Destiny 2 player and a fan of the game. It's Heyoka. How are you tonight, sir?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. I'm delighted to be back on the show. I'm a little bit concerned that I'm next to Hades on the screen, because if he's got his eat stick, then I'm in big trouble.
I'm sorry, man. I can't control where the windows appear on the screen. Sorry, man. I probably could, but that's way too many buttons for me to press. So thanks again. Really means a lot. You're on the show tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, mate.
Well, our fifth and final roundtabler is a brand new guest of the show, and I'm really excited to hear about his topic today. But before we can proceed, gentlemen, I need to know more about this man. Please welcome Rolfie. How are you tonight, sir?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely,
long-time fan. So
see, he's already loosened up, man.
Long time.
Yeah, he's already loosened up. He's already ready to look at that smile, man. This is awesome. I love it.
Long-time listener, big fan. So
Thank you,
really appreciate being here. Thank you.
Well, the honor's mine, man. I appreciate you coming on tonight. And I got a few just really quick out of the gate questions I just need to ask here, so all of our listeners know who we're listening to tonight. Where are you in the UK, and what do you do for a living, sir?
So if you look at the UK map and then stick a pin right in the middle of it, that's pretty much where I'm based. So
Manchester?
I'm a little bit further down. So I'm North Derbyshire, which borders, Nottinghamshire. We are a fully land county. So we are smack bang in the middle of the UK.
So you're just north of London then?
2.5 hours north, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So in American terms, that's just north.
Yeah, sorry, I'm American. All I see is Manchester, London. What do we got? Leeds over here. We got Sheffield over here somewhere. Sorry, you guys can't even see my hands. Sorry. But I have a general idea of where everybody is. And of course, Mr. Hades is over in the Welsh countryside. So
if you know where Mr. Monkey's based, then
Sheffield.
I'm 30 minutes south.
Oh, nice. So. Very nice. Very cool. Another question I have for you here is, are you married? Have kids?
Yes, married. And have a 7-month-old daughter, which has been challenging over the last few months. But no, she's really good. Amazing. We're hoping to move house in the next couple of months. I just went on the market because apparently having a daughter means you don't have enough space to live in a 3-bedroom anymore. So we're looking to hopefully move to a slightly bigger place. But yeah, enjoying it. So I've been with my missus known her for 16 years, been married. Oh, I'm going to get this wrong.
Sorry.
Been married since 2016. So
okay. All right. Very nice. So what's your fast hot take about being a new dad? What's the biggest thing you've learned?
Enjoy the sleep whilst you can, because that is extremely true. Also, she's 7 months old, and I cannot tell you where the last 7 months have gone.
It flies.
People told me jokingly that they grow up so quick, but I didn't anticipate it being this quick. So she's moving around, she's eating. It's scary. A minute ago, she was in a little crib on the floor, happy as Larry. But now, yeah.
Let's see, when they're
absolutely
when they're first born, I think they sleep like 12 hours a day. It's fantastic. You're like, man, I think I got this down, man. This dad stuff's awesome. And then the 5-month mark hits, or 3 months even. And you're like, why won't it stop crying?
We now celebrate 12 hours a week if she makes that. So
I get it.
No, she's good. She's good.
Nice.
I wouldn't have it any other way at all.
Very good. How long have you been playing Destiny? When did you jump into this fray?
I am an OG D1 beta player.
Wow.
So I have a very good friend of mine, still game with him now, and he's really good at reading the market as to what's coming up. And I wasn't really that interested in first-person shooters. I dabbled in Call of Duty. I played a few, but I was more into my RPGs, Final Fantasy, Zeldas, big open-world games that I could just get immersed in. So he said to me, like, Destiny, have a look at it. It's shooting aliens in the face. I think you'll enjoy it. Played through the beta, got D1. Now it's 10 years later, and I'm hooked.
How have they held our attention this long? I keep asking myself that.
Yeah.
I mean, I played Call of Duty for 7 years, I think, maybe. But I've never played a game this long. I was just talking to Kingsley last week about this. How on earth have they kept our attention for 10 years? I can't play one game. I'll start a game and I'll go, yeah, it's not Destiny.
Yeah. I'm the same. I always tell myself, I'm going to play something new.
Yeah.
And then I'll play 2 hours of something new and immediately boot up Destiny 2.
You're already thinking about, man, I can't do bounties right now, man. I'm wasting time.
What haven't I done this week? Like,
exactly.
I need to go and tick some boxes, get some triumphs, watch those numbers go up. So
I love it.
Yeah, I'm hooked.
All right. I got to ask you, man, dude, what is up with that gamertag, Rolfie?
I'd love to say something really elaborate about how I came up with it, but firstly, it was stolen from my brother because he had it on the Xbox before I took control of our Xbox. Mm-hmm. So it's nothing, there is nothing crazy about it at all. Rolfie is my surname.
Okay. And
I stuck man on the end of it, or my brother stuck man on the end of it, thinking we were cool. So that's how the gamertag first came about. And then he stopped playing Xbox. I continued, so it stuck with me. I then started paying the bill for the Xbox account, and yeah, here we are now. I just haven't changed it ever since. I'm not that imaginative, if I'm honest.
But that's a cool surname, though, man. That is so English. It is, man. I love it. I love that name. That's so cool. Last thing. I'd love to talk more, but we have so much on the plate tonight. Maybe I'll have you back on a future show and we can get more in depth. What is one thing about you? Wait a minute. Before that, you never told me what you do for a living. What do you do for work, sir?
Sorry, I'm a technical operations manager, which sounds really boring, but I do it for a company who installs really large-scale Wi-Fi switching, routing, and network deployments. So provide us with the internet. We plug the internet in and provide it to big automation plants, processing, manufacturing plants. So generally where there's issues in getting Wi-Fi into certain places, we'll come in and consult against that and then build wireless networks around it, but also provide all the network engineering behind it. So I started as a network engineer. I did that for 6 years. So I was on the tool, going around the UK, Europe, installing these types of networks. And then as of last November, moved up to management. So I'm much more desk-based now, which is really nice. So I get to spend a little bit more time with the daughter. But
nice. So you work from home. That's awesome.
Yeah, 3 days from home, 2 days from the office. So it's not too bad at all.
It's a good balance. Yeah.
If you were to summarize my job, it would be nerd. Because we love everything information technology related.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoy it.
Well, I know in the Central Florida area right now, all the companies are diving in with fiber. All our neighborhoods are getting trenched and dug up and new fiber has been installed. I have 3 fiber companies now in our neighborhood, which is unheard of. I dealt with the original people who installed fiber here and the service has been pretty good. I get a gig up and down, which is really nice. I guess they call it symmetrical fiber. I don't know.
Asymmetrical.
Yeah, asymmetrical. There we go. And I have another backup company I use. That's the old cable modem. You just realize how far we've come in internet, but, one more question before we go. Ralphie, what's one thing about you that our community might not know about you, sir?
So, I mean, I speak to these guys on a daily basis, but I think something that not everyone knows about me is I am a county badminton player. When I was 12 years old, my mum and dad both played badminton, and me and my brother used to go down to their club nights, have a hit. And then when I was 13, I got really serious about it. So I still play Derbyshire County and represent Derbyshire at various tournaments and matches. But yeah, badminton is my sport. I love all sports, but badminton's the only one I'm good at. So
I always loved playing that, but I never could find anybody in the backyard to play badminton with. But that's pretty cool. That's something that was big in the 80s and 90s here, I think. But I don't hear a lot of badminton going on right now in the United States. That's pretty cool. Awesome.
It's the same in the UK. It's still fairly low key as sports go. There's no big money in it, but no, it's good.
Well, thank you for sharing a little bit of your life tonight with us, sir. Appreciate it. As we all have been introduced, we all know each other here. I want to go around the horn here and see what you guys have been doing in Destiny this week. It's been kind of a light week, hasn't it? Kind of a light week so far? What about you, Hades? What have you been doing in Destiny this week? Or if not Destiny, something else?
I actually haven't had a massive amount of time to play Destiny this week.
I get that.
Seeing as my one day off, I spent traveling. I got on a little bit and played an hour or two's worth of Onslaught. I think is going to be my new favorite game mode because it's pretty much all I do is just kill things and create orbs. So it's basically built for me.
Nice.
Most of my week has been working a lot. I had an interesting half hour at work just as I was meant to be finishing, where I got the pleasure of calling the police on a customer because he walked in for the second time getting a little bit agitated over nothing and decided to start shouting and swearing at us. Wanted my name, but I flat out refused to wear a name badge because I think they're ridiculous, so we couldn't get it. My car then failed its MOT, so that's now sat on my driveway until Wednesday. when it's getting repaired. So I went all the way to my parents' house and picked up my mum's car. I'm currently 6'1", 6'2"-ish, somewhere around that, driving a Mini. The head on the ceiling.
Does she at least have the big Mini, or does she have the regular, smaller Mini?
It is the big one.
Okay.
It's the one with the 2 doors at the back of it.
Yeah. Okay.
But it also has half a door behind me as well, which is a bit weird.
I talked about this when I visited England. I can't remember, more than a decade ago. Stupid American. I go to the airport and I want to rent a nice Mercedes or something nice to drive around in, and realize that nobody in England drives big cars, especially south of London, or where I was. It was around London area. I was in Hever. It was some converted stables. They turned into a timeshare, and I got it through a timeshare trade-off swap thing with family. And, everybody had these hot hatchbacks, and everybody would pile into these little cars. And here I am driving. All right, don't laugh. I'm not an accountant. Okay. I was driving around a Volvo station wagon with the little 4-cylinder turbo, and I was scared to death on these little roads with this car. And I could drive fast because everyone drives fast. But,
oh yeah.
If I didn't have my little TomTom suction cupped on the dash, I would have been so in trouble driving in that.
To be fair, Volvo isn't a bad choice for you driving around in the middle of, like, if you went through the rural places, Volvo isn't a bad choice for someone that's used to big roads that you can actually drive on. Because if those things get hit, then they're the one coming out of it fine.
I remember I stopped in Bath, and there was a little tiny parking garage, and I was backing this big ass car into this tiny little spot, and they had these little steel cross members, I guess, that hold all the upper levels. And I cracked the taillight back in the thing in there. I'm like, never again. I'm going to have like a little Nissan hatchback or something next time I'm here. I'm not getting something this big. But I mean, it was a great car. It was very dependable. It was a little quick too, if you needed to. But yeah, when you said Mini, my sister used to have one. They're fun little cars. They're fun little cars. But
Yes.
it's the one thing I learned though. Everyone has smaller hot hatches, I guess they call them in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not bad because they've been bought out by BMW.
Oh.
So it is the engines. It's basically a BMW with a Mini logo on it now.
Nice.
So it's proper nippy, but it's a little bit tight for me.
Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing, Hades. And don't sip on that Jim Beam too quickly, okay? I'm keeping an eye on you. Mr. Heyoka, how have you been this week? What have you been doing in Destiny or gaming or in life, man, this week?
Well, it's been a busy week as well. Work's slightly crazy at the moment. I think I've managed to spend a couple of hours in Onslaught. I quite like it.
Yes.
It's good. I got up to level 36, I think, today. But actually been quite distracted with running some raids this week with a lot of the UK Guardians. So been running a lot of King's Fall, which has been great because I'd only run it once or twice beforehand. So really learning the mechanics of that. It's great fun. I think there's been a cheeky Vault of Glass here and there, but it's really impacting on my recent RNG luck because I think I've done King's Fall 6 times now and I still haven't got the drop. So it's just shameful.
You're talking about the Touch of Malice exotic?
I'm talking about the Touch of Malice exotic.
I don't have it either. Just to let you know.
I've had a lot of recent good luck with RNGs, you know.
Okay.
And that's been fun, but actually raiding midweek, it's a little bit tiring actually. It takes it out of me the next day. So but I'm looking forward to more Onslaught. And I'm still in the glow, of course, of meeting our esteemed colleague, Mr. Hades there. We got the pleasure of meeting up in real life, and it was an absolute pleasure. It was, a really lovely thing. So I'm still glowing from that.
Guardian Downcast, bringing community members together. I love it. I love seeing it, man. I love seeing it.
It's all your fault.
My fault. My fault.
Yeah, no.
I don't think I want to take credit for all that, but I'll take some of it. Yeah, good. Average D2 player. What have you been up to this week, man?
More or less pretty much the same as everybody else, really. Really enjoyed the new Onslaught mode. Managed to get to level 50, believe it or not, with the randoms.
Wow.
I know. So that was quite the triumph. Good fun and good loot at the end. So I fully recommend everybody getting there eventually. We also gave the Legend version of it a go the other night. Managed to get to a wave 13. And that is the best that we've managed so far.
I'm so intimidated about the Legend part of it because it's already crazy enough on regular. They just flood the enemies at you. So
yeah, it is pretty brutal, but I like to call it brutal fun. So nice. If you're a glutton for punishment and you like punishment, then head into a legendary onslaught, and you'll certainly get your money's worth there. But that is good fun. Ran the Whisper mission as well. Obviously, really good that that's back. Although personally, I'm more a fan of the 0 hour mission, so I'm more looking forward to that coming back eventually, actually, than the Whisper. But yeah, done a few runs of the Whisper. Done it on Legendary as well. Managed to get a few of the oracles at the start to start getting the schematics for the ship. So yeah, been pretty busy since the new Into the Light stuff has dropped, which I'm sure everybody else here agrees is a real awesome addition to the game, and we got it all for a free update update as well. So I think it even beats the 30th anniversary stuff, which it was a small expansion that we had to sort of fork out for, but I think probably most people would agree that this Onslaught and this Into the Light is probably some of the best content they've given us for quite a little while. So yeah, it's been busy.
Yeah, I agree. It's what's great about Onslaught is it's kind of like brain dead activity. I mean, within reason. I mean, you're not sitting there stressing about a mechanic that has to be done. I mean, other than grabbing, the power spikes and throwing them back and powering up your, what is it, the ECU or PCU, or I don't remember the name of it, but, something like that. And, I managed to get 34 levels with randos. Then I realized the randos just hit a wall, and you could see they were level 5. So they were like, mommy, level 34. They were like, it's like they ran out of ideas. They didn't know what to do. And I was like, I'm an experienced raider, and I know I have all the builds set up. I have my Void Warlock set up and stuff. And I'm like, come on, guys, we got this. Come on, go get that one. Go get that one over there. Oh, don't worry. You can kill this guy. He's not that, he looks intimidating, but really he's not. You can kill him. And they were just all running. And finally they left. I'm like, oh, great. Here I am, level 34 by myself. And then 2 people auto join, and they're just clueless. And I'm like, okay. So I'll be getting in contact, probably setting up some 100.io bot, Onslaught games here soon. But, I got to level 34. I did all the gun bounties. Big surprise, right? That's the first thing I'm going for. I got all the first 6 weapons unlocked. I got the shiny versions of them, the curated shiny versions. I've already got really good rolls for the Elsie's rifle, which, from what I'm hearing from reviews, is actually has better stats than the Messenger. So I can't wait to try that out in Crucible. Haven't done much Crucible this week, but it's been mainly Onslaught. I've been jumping on every night and knocking out a little bit more of the gun bounties. You can get it all done pretty quick anywhere in the world, but for me, it was Lost Sectors, running bounties, doing bounties and Lost Sectors at the same time. I managed to crank it all out within probably 3 separate nights. Wasn't too bad. So, but that's kind of what I've been doing on my end. I did a lot of prep for this week's show because I was really excited about talking with you all tonight. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. I'll go to Mr. Monkey. What have you been doing in Destiny this week, man?
So I've been, like everyone else has said, I've been majorly maxed out with work. So Tuesday at reset, jumped in. We did, me, Panther and Kingsley got up to level 38, I think, on Onslaught. And then it just gets really, really hard after level 30-ish. We did Whisper. And then last night we tried a Master Crota. We got to EU and then got absolutely blocked at EU. So I think we spent maybe about 20 or so attempts at EU before we called it a night. Did a really chill Last Wish straight after that. Less than an hour Last Wish. It was really, really, really straightforward. And then just before record, did a quick Kingsfall with the Nuggies and Breakfast Club Greg.
Nice.
So thanks for Heiko for jumping in last minute as Stormcrow had to bail at Oryx. I ran most of it on Hunter, which was a bit of a learning curve. And Darth, who runs Breakfast Club's got a really cool mechanic where we've got a wheel, and the wheel decides what you're going to do in each encounter. So typically, if he's not teaching someone, it's a random roll of what you're going to do. So everyone's got to learn something at some point. So I really like that, actually. So no one can just say, I just want to do ads and hide behind that. Sooner or later, you're going to get pulled out.
Do you guys all hear that? I've been busy at work this week, and I cranked out 3 raids. Mr. 1300 over here. Pinky in the air, everybody.
Oh, that's harsh.
I will break you, Mr. Monkey. I will break you tonight, sir.
oh, if that's a challenge.
Oh.
Get illustrated arm, mate. No, it was 2.5 raids. We got to EU on Master, and it was an absolute damage gate. And
let me ask you this.
We've got a really, really solid crew as well.
Well, what was the motivation to do a legend raid? Are you just wanting the adept weapon?
No, to be honest, it's a long season, and I've never ever stepped into a master raid before. I didn't used to be a comfortable raider. I am now a pretty confident raider.
Yeah.
So it was just the next step, just to try it and see what it's like. It's like stepping up to a GM. The first time you do a GM, I'm going to swear anyway. It's like that oh shit moment of, oh, this is different. I can't go into this strike that I've done 1,000 times thinking I know exactly where the ads are or exactly where the problems are. When you step into a GM, it's a completely different thing. And doing Master Crota, I think we were at it for maybe 3 hours. Lamps was a piece of cake. It was an absolute cakewalk. After Lamps, it became a lot harder, a lot quicker, a lot more champions to deal with. You couldn't use the same strats you normally use in a normal raid. It pushed you in what you've got to do in your loadouts. It was a really good challenge.
Good deal. Mr. 1300. God, man.
You're gonna needle me.
Dude, how do you get to 1300? I mean, I'm doing a lot of bounties, and I'm at like 400. Well, I'm such a rookie, man.
Yeah. Do you know what you need to do? Get good, mate.
Get good.
Get good.
See, there's our title. Get good.
leave your sound. To be honest, there's no sidearm bounties getting to 1300.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I did see MC Squared and Friends. I think Alley Kate was in there. Some others that I saw in our Discord community. They took down Oryx, all with Rat Kings. So see, it is possible.
Have you done a DSC with Rat Kings?
No.
Right. Me and Haruka have got a little date for you.
Oh.
We want to raid with you.
A Rat King?
Let's do an all Rat King DSC.
I'm up for that.
All Rat King absolutely chews through pretty much everything.
Oh.
Panda did a damage test on Tanix, and it was doing nasty damage. You have to switch out to Parasite at Atrax because you kind of have to. But
yeah,
honestly,
wait a minute. What? Okay, using Rat King as your kinetic. What are you using for long range? Just whatever you want, like a scout or something.
Yeah, just do whatever you want. Whatever the gunsmith bounty is.
Right.
Honestly, Rat King. Hey, okay. What are your views on an all Rat King DSC? Because we did that, and it absolutely chews through everything.
It was huge fun.
Okay.
And it gave birth to the Rat Pack. Rat Pack Fire Team. Got to be done.
I've never done a full Rat King raid. That'd be fun. I think I'm up for that challenge. I think we got a little time left, right? To do a little shenanigans. I like it. Well, thank you, Mr. Monkey. Finally, Ralphie. Let me pronounce that right. What did you do in Destiny this week, man? It's been a pretty light week, right? Not a lot going on in Destiny right now?
Yeah, nothing at all. So I was a victim of the bad servers on Tuesday. So we started out running Whisper, which was great, but we all took the quest, took it through Whisper, hoping to tick it off. Did not get the quest completion. Oh. So we went into Onslaught in hoping that we'd get the 10 rounds done for us to be able to move into the 50 wave version.
Mm-hmm.
Complete either. So we went back into Whisper, which was great. Enjoy that. It's really nostalgic. Still didn't get the completion until we left Whisper for the second time, and then all quests completed at once. So
nice.
That was great. We all got our craftable Whisper, which is good. Then went into the 50 wave Onslaught and completed the 50 waves. And to be honest, I'm liking it. I think it's a really good game mode. Like you say, it's mindless.
Yeah.
So you can just switch off, test out some new loadouts, test out your subclasses, work out what's good for ad clear and what isn't. But I'm really enjoying it. So that was Tuesday night, and then joined the dock, Heyoka, for a King's Fall run, because that's farmable this week. So I started originally with 16 runs of King's Fall, and I'm now up to 26 runs.
Dang.
And I still have no touch of malice. That gun will not drop for me.
Won't drop for me either.
So, I can hear Average in the background saying, yeah, keep waiting. Because I know it took a lot of runs to be able to get that gun. But to be honest, I don't really want the gun. I just want the Triumph. But I want to have it in my arsenal when it's available to use. So
I hear you.
Other than that, yeah, busy week as well at work. So I haven't had the amount of time that I'd like to spend in Destiny. Dropped into a couple of PvP games today just to try and get a couple of bounties ticked off. But yeah, I think the Into the Light experience is good so far, but I'm sure we'll touch on that a bit later. But certainly liking the new additions to the game. And fingers crossed that touch of malice will come before Tuesday, because if not, I'm going to cry.
It's funny you should say that, because in this week in Destiny, for April 11th, they just want to mention a few things off the top here before we get to our conversation about the Vidoc. They did share a little bit more information on this Pantheon coming up. Granted, it wasn't what we were looking for, but they did mention that there's going to be some different week to week. There's going to be different raid bosses that are going to be featured. They still have not told us how this is going to happen. If we're just going to jump into the raid at that point, where that boss appears in the raid, I don't know. They're not really talking about that, but this is basically in a nutshell what they have said. That they said they've already shared some details about Pantheon, the new PvE challenge that will start on April 30th. It involves not only the gauntlet of raid boss encounters currently available in the game, but also a few twists on how to approach them. We've been keeping some details close to the chest, including the list of enemies that you'll face. The goal of Pantheon is to relive incredible and heroic moments that raids always deliver, while also changing what you expect from some of the encounters, many of already that you know so well. Prepare to be nimble, adapt your strategies, or throw them out the window, and your fire team will find success. Pantheon will increase in scale and difficulty each week, starting with 4 bosses in the first one and growing up to 8 in a row by May 21st. Each time a new boss is added, the active modifiers will rotate and the power cap will change, starting with players at 5 below power, all the way down to contest mode, which is 20 below. As the difficulty goes up, so will the pool of available rewards. You can get adept raid weapons, deep sight versions of raid weapons, and even exotic weapons. So fingers crossed, maybe we get that touch of malice.
The leaks on that, it looks amazing. If the leaks are even halfway true.
Oh, I think the emblems they leaked look very good. They all look very well. They put a lot of time in the artwork on these emblems. They said that some of the rewards are weekly and others are linked to pursuits of triumphs, like the 4 new emblems, but many will also depend on your performance. We challenge you to complete each encounter before the bonus timer expires. You know I love timers. To get a platinum score.
Maybe you might get that shotgun eventually and not ever have to run again.
Yes, you're right, Mr. Monkey. I might get that shotgun, finally, that everyone in the Crucible has except me. Thank you for reminding me of that, Mr. Monkey.
I may also have that shotgun.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm the one who got it for you on your virgin run. So many people who did a first run with me in their party got the conditional finality, so I'm not sore, I'm not bitter. I'm happy for you guys, really.
I saw that happiness on your little face.
I know. That was intentional. But they do say when April 30th arrives, we hope that you'll be trained and prepare yourselves, Guardians. Shax will have the quest you'll need to start your journey to become a God Slayer, which is a new title they're offering in Pantheon. So that's all we know. My voice is already going and we're not even halfway through the show, but, that is going to be cool. They're going to have a title called God Slayer, and my God, that might be actually one
that title. I was going to say that title is going to be one of the most sought after. Those emblems look amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be up there with like Blacksmith and Glorious and those titles that are really tough to get.
Reckoner was super hard.
Exactly. Stuff like that. So I'm really going to fly through this. They're updating the way we see things on our heads up display. They're going to have a lot of different buffs. If you noticed looking at the Vidoc, which we're going to talk about in a sec, they had all these buffs appearing on the right. They had a couple in the center. On the left above your super bar, and they had some in the center, and they were just explaining how they're going to be adding a lot more information on the screen. And there's going to be a priority of which shows first or longest. So, in the TWAB, they detail that out pretty good. The, weapon, this was really cool. The weapon, conditional weapon mods or, special perks that they have on a weapon will also appear, like One for All and One Quiet Moment will appear above your super bar as well. So you actually know when your weapons are kicking in. It's just going to be a lot more information on the screen. And for the new player, I'm a little worried, but, for us Destiny veterans, this is pretty cool. Pretty cool. They have the Kilts for Kids fundraiser coming again on Friday, April 19th. It is, benefiting Ronald McDonald House. I'm a real lover of that charity because it helped actually someone in my own family. It was a really, a blessing for them. So, look into that. If you donate, you'll get some emblems. You'll get all kinds of different rewards and goodies for that. So look into that. It starts April 19th. So finally, on the player support report, what's going on in the player support report this week, guys?
Rolfie, have you got this?
Yeah, I was just scrolling through it. It's quite detailed, so shit's broken.
I like it. Hey, Oka, what's going on in the player support report?
Hang on, just let me pull it. Oh, shit's broken.
All right. Hades, what's going on in the player support report this week, man?
It's about the same as normal. Shit's broken.
Well said. Average Destiny 2 player, what's going on in the player support report this week, man?
Didn't even need to look at it and already know that shit's broken.
Very well. And Mr. Monkey, looking at the player support report, what's going on in Destiny this week?
Everything's fixed, nothing to worry about.
Okay, Kingsley. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. And this just happens every time I put a roundtable together. Bungie dumps an incredibly large amount of stuff on us. And of course, a lot of our topics are going to be around Destiny tonight, which I'm really happy about because Destiny is really getting hyped this time of year. And, we have a lot of good topics we're going to get to in a sec talking about that very thing. But I wanted to go around the horn here and talk to you guys. Did everyone here see the Vidoc that Destiny put out, Bungie put out this week? Is everyone able to see it?
Yes, sir.
I just want to go around the horn, just the highlights of what each of you thought from what you saw, from the Vidoc this week. Hades, what about you, man? I know you've been busy, but what did you think from seeing all this madness that, is coming in the final shape?
I think I've only seen about half of whatever it was that was put out. That was about 40 minutes long.
It was long.
And I'm very excited. The slight spoiler warning. The mixing of subclasses as I think I'm the only hunter here. As a hunter, I'm very excited to actually be able to run the magic of Void and be able to punch something. Because it's the only thing that Void is massively lacking in, is that you throw a little pathetic smoke bomb that is completely useless in every situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be bouncing between Shadow Shot and being able to actually hit things. I can't wait.
Oh yeah. My biggest fear is the Crucible is going to be broken.
Oh, it's going to be on fire.
I mean, it's going to be
the ice show.
The fucking ice show. It's going to be the ice show everywhere, man. I don't know, man. I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried when I saw all this stuff going on. My ADHD was like, what's going over here? What? Wait, in this? Wait a minute. What's he doing? Oh, I was off the wall. I gotta admit, I was not expecting a new subclass, the prismatic subclass coming back. I was not prepared for this. And
I believe you called it.
Well, I did call a red subclass.
There was something coming.
I did say it was a red subclass.
It's not a red subclass. We had a chat.
And I did say it was coming into the light, which no, it's coming in final shape. So okay, fair enough. But I was half right
at the same time.
Yeah, I was half right. Thanks, Hades.
It was announced during Into the Light. I'll give you that.
Hades may be my favorite mod now.
Brittany's gonna have words.
Monkey just went down a slot.
Someone clip that and send it to me.
There's no clipping in this. Hey, Oka, what did you think, man? I know you're an old school guy like me. What did you think of all this stuff, man?
Oh, I mean, the visuals looked amazing. Prismatic looks very colourful. It looks like they've given us the keys to the sweet shop. I was really impressed with the new enemies, the Dread. I think they all look pretty cool. What have we got? Tormentors, Subjugators, Weavers, Attendants. Was it Grim or Grims and Husk?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just...
It's like a flying... I don't know what you call
it. They look shit hot, to be fair.
It's crazy.
Can't wait to shoot them in the face. And I'm not sure I completely understood about the sort of doubling up on the exotic perks.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's going to be across classes or not, can hunters drop piss puddles or not? But I'm really looking forward to shooting that lot in the face. I was really impressed with the artwork, the way they move, the things they do. It looks really, really impressive. I think they've done a great job there.
I'm real excited. This may be a Forsaken size. This may be another Forsaken type DLC, because when Forsaken came out, it introduced triumphs, the triumph score, the in-game lore. I'm trying to think of all the things because they totally just rejuvenated the whole game with Forsaken. Why I still say it's my favorite DLC of all time for Destiny and Destiny 2. And it was so enormous. I remember the first day looking at it, seeing all this stuff flashing at me. Like, I got to go look at this. Oh, there's something over here flashing too. I literally had to shut the game off. I was having a mini panic attack. I've never had that problem before playing Destiny. I'm like, bring me all the stuff, man. I want to know what's going on. Let's go. Let me jump in. But I was, I got a little panicky. I had to turn it off for a sec. I had to take it all in because it was so much new things coming to the game in Forsaken. And now we all take it for granted because it's pretty much, we're used to all of it now. But I'm curious with this new shared subclass. And yes, to answer your question, Aoka, hunters are going to be able to use stuff that warlocks use and titans use. It's going to be madness, man. It's going to be madness.
Does that mean that warlocks get a free gift of some hunter hair gel?
Maybe. They actually had a deep dive into all the prismatic stuff, and we just don't have time to go into it tonight. But I will just tell you this: if you go on, there's a separate article than the TWID this week where they have a table of all the things that are shared between the different subclasses, and it's a lot of color. I'm seeing a lot of colorful fragments and aspects here too. So, this is, I mean, I'm looking at my prismatic warlock here that has my void, Into the Void, and also has, looks like Stasis, the ice show. So, and, has all these different things that are shared. Now, I believe the way these, things are shared is through an exotic class item. And I don't know if it is in lieu of your exotic that you already have on your armor slot. I have a feeling you're going to have to use this exotic class item in lieu of your arms or a helmet mod or, an exotic helmet or stuff like that. I'm not sure about that, but it looked to me like this was an option. If you wanted to share and intermingle these different, aspects and fragments and parts of other subclasses from other characters, you're going to have this exotic class item. Is that confirmed? Does anybody know exactly, or?
I'd always worked on the assumption that the exotics would work like D1, where you could equip it as alongside another exotic, but I don't know if that's just an assumption based on kind of what we could do in D1.
Wow.
I think from the bit that I saw, unless I've completely read it wrong, which is quite likely, it was like the exotic is going to randomly drop with the perks of 2 exotics.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not sure if that's going to be 2 exotics from that class or just 2 exotics from any class at all, which could be amazing. So
that's good.
It might just be a case of you get 2 random exotics dropping and you've just got to hope that they work well together and you don't end up with like something for punching and something from stupidly far away.
Here's the one thing I did hear this week is the aspects and fragments will be rewarded as you go through the campaign and through some other methods as well. But the main thing is you will get these aspects and fragments to drop for you as you play through the story, which I love. I'm not entirely excited about going back on one of my alt characters to get the ice show fragments and stuff, because you have to go and play this repetitive loop in the Beyond Light campaign in order to get this stuff to unlock for you. And it was so annoying to do that. And that's the one thing Destiny has not listened to our community with, is they have not made it easier to get these fragments from Stasis. You still have to go through that grueling process. Now, I did like when we went to Lightfall, they made it a little easier to get your aspects and fragments unlocked for each character. Once you unlocked it, once you completed the campaign, just killing anything with these, with your abilities or grenades or supers or whatever would drop these little prisms that you picked up, and you collected so many prisms and you can cash them in and start unlocking your fragments that way. I did like that method as well. And right now, in fact, this week through, I want to say for a couple weeks now, they're going to offer the, instead of 200 prisms for each fragment, it's now only going to be 100, which is great because I still even have to finish some stuff up on my Titan. Yeah, for my Strand Titan. I don't quite have everything for my Strand Titan yet, but what I'm looking at here, I'm not sure exactly. I hope, Mr. Monkey, that the class item can be used alongside your normal exotics that you're used to using with your class item, with your class, but I can't tell you whether or not that's true. So we'll have to see. I have Sith Daddy Fresh on the show next week, and we're going to really get down in the nitty gritty on all this stuff, because there's probably going to be more information in next week's TWAB as well. So probably more on the Pantheon as well. So we'll hopefully get in deeper into that as well. But Ralphie, what did you think of when you saw the Vidoc?
I'm always a fan of a new enemy race, to be honest, when they first introduced the Taken, because it almost adapts your game style. And if we use things like the Tormentors as an example, you have to shoot off their shoulders before you can deal any damage to them. If they're going to be pulling more of that technique into be able to kill any enemies, and it sounds like with is it the husk that explode and then send seeking projectiles after you, so you can't just shoot them and move on,
right? Then
I think that's a nice introduction to the game. I like the idea of build crafting as well, and I share the same concern with you, Gator, in the respect of I hope build crafting doesn't translate into PvP, because if they are going to do it, then stick it in its own playlist and let people go wild. But if Prismatic and Transcendence is going to be directly involved in PvP, then it's not going to be a nice place to be around. I mean, it's not great at the moment, but it still could be a lot worse. Imagine going into trials with sort of a Titan with freezing and solar on, chucks a grenade, you're slowed, you're burning at the same time. You've not even shot anything yet. Yeah. I just worry that may not translate too well to PvP, but hopefully Bungie have thought about that, and it can be a positive thing. I know from past Bungie introductions, some of them can be game-breaking, but I really like the idea that we can sort of add light and dark subclasses together and make some decent builds, make everything explode, make it all frozen at the same time. Then, yeah, it's going to be an ad-clear monster. But I do have some concerns, let's say. But, yeah, I'm really excited by the feel and the look of it. I mean, even just the introduction into the new tower, the tower setting. I like what they've done with that. They made it colourful. It's a nostalgic place. It tickles all of the OG Destiny players' kind of gameplay. And yeah, I think it's going to be positive. I just hope Bungie have thought enough behind it to not break the game.
See, here's the thing I'm thinking. Poor Chris Proctor and Mercules. Thank you, Mr. Monkey. I love his Revision Zero gun. That pulse rifle is my favorite exotic right now. I'm using it everywhere, even in PvE and PvP. And it's like Chris Proctor and the rest of the Sandbox team said, we got the Crucible down, guys. It's perfected. It's not a bunch of spam. It's a lot about gunplay, but if you're good with your gunplay, you'll get more spam. And then it's like the other side of Bungie went, hold my beer. Then just dropped all this stuff on us. And we're like, what the hell? I don't know if I'm really hoping that they simplify the Crucible and exclude some of that from the Crucible. I'm really worried. I'm really worried about the Crucible with all this prismatic stuff, but they're going to have to include it. Ralphie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose what you don't want it to do is take away from other subclasses. They've got to balance it right. And if the balance is, you get your stasis and your solar, but you can only use it at certain times, and you have to be rewarded to be able to get those sort of abilities, then I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. Because then there's still reason to use the existing subclasses. It's just, if the only reason that they've introduced this, and there's not going to be any other reason to use any other subclasses, then that's when it becomes game breaking. So
I hear you.
That's my concern behind it.
Yeah, I agree. Average D2, we haven't heard from you. What did you think about the Vidoc, man? When it appeared on Tuesday.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. I mean, to be honest with you, I think everybody else has pretty much covered what I was going to say. So I echo everybody's sentiment when it comes to what's been said with the new subclasses, the dual subclasses, and the exotic armor pieces. So I don't really think there's much I can add to that, but definitely hyped me up for the release of the final shape. So yeah, it was good. It was cool. I'm looking forward to it.
Very nice. Very nice. And then, of course, Mr. Monkey, what were your opinions of the Vidoc?
So I'm going to be a slight Debbie Downer on here. So I think, interestingly, since the launch since the announcement of Prismatic, no one's talking about the new 3 light subclasses. So I'm kind of worried that they're going to get lost a little bit in the weeds. If Prismatic comes out day one on the 4th of June, I don't see anyone using the new subclasses. I think everyone's going to pivot straight away to Prismatic.
Never thought of that. Never thought of that part.
If Prismatic is time gated or hidden behind the campaign like Strand was, the community is going to be absolutely pissed. So I think that's going to be an interesting balance. Without wanting to promote anyone else's content on here, and it's someone whose content I'm not massively engaged with or particularly always agree with, but Bive's got a really, really good video on the new enemy race and maybe where they come from in terms of their races we fought before that the Witness has used. So there's some really good lore behind potentially where the new race comes from. But I think the introduction of a new race is amazing. Prismatic looks really, really cool, but I just think they announced 3 new light subclasses. I don't quite see how it's going to sit within the sandbox. I think everyone's just going to be running Prismatic.
Yeah, it seems that way. Or maybe the new subclasses will tie into the Prismatic as well. We don't know. We don't know enough about it. And even though they went in, they had a really good deep dive, a developer deep insight on Prismatic, but they did leave it open-ended that there will be more that we don't know about. So
yeah, and I listened to Dan Finity's podcast earlier on today.
Love that guy.
Again, another plug for another content creator.
No, I love Dan Finney. He's a good guy, and he always has very good quality content.
Yeah, he'd got Tony of Physics on, and they were talking really interestingly about the new Prismatic subclass and kind of going on to Rolfie's point about PvP. Mm-hmm. If you're going up against someone with Prismatic and or the new class items in PvP, are you going to have to quickly inspect them in trials and try and work out what they bring into the party? If you see someone running, I don't know, transversive steps, you know exactly what they've got. Or once you see the exotic, you know what they've got.
Right.
If they've got that bond or they've got that cloak or they've got the butt towel, you don't know necessarily what benefits they bring into the game. So for PvP, that might be quite challenging.
Yeah, and you only have so much time to inspect them. I mean, you get the flash screen at the very beginning, and people swap stuff around too. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but it does happen.
And kind of that speaks to people, and I'll touch it on it in my topic, but it's kind of people like yourself, Rolfie and Hades, who play more PvP than I think the other 3 of us in terms of how they balance that in PvP. And it seems really cool in PvE, and you ridiculously overpowered because that feeds that fantasy of being a god. But when you go into PvP, it's how you balance that, and the other team can read it and kind of expect what they're coming up against. If you see a load of people using shotguns in trials, you know that team's going to rush you. If you see someone with 3 exotic class items and you don't know what's hidden behind them, you don't have that level of prediction.
I get it.
I suppose just to touch on that, Mr. Monkey, I suppose the way in which I'm looking at it is the way in which Bungie marketed this new subclass is I want reason not to use it, because at the moment it just looked so overpowered that all of the rest of the subclasses may become completely defunct. And again, that's my concern. But yeah, coming up against someone who's good at PvP using Prismatic, I wouldn't stand a chance.
That's the end game in PvP. I mean, I don't care how good you are with your gun. If someone's going to keep throwing frickin' little strand crawlers at you all the time and breaking your shields down, and all you have to do is come out and pot shot you in the head with one shot, then are we talking gun skill or are we talking gimmicky crap? And you know me, man, I love the gimmicky stuff in Crucible.
So you imagine that you're playing me in Crucible and you're vastly better than me in Crucible.
But you got a better build than me.
We've played Crucible together before. You know that you're vastly better than me. But if I've got double ice turrets and loads of strand crawlers and loads of copyright gimmick crap, that's just going to frustrate. That's not based on gun skill. That's not based on the fact that I'm a better player than you, because I'm not. It's based on the fact that I've got more gimmicks than you.
Well,
so that's my slight concern around Prismatic.
It goes back to my earlier point I talked about. Chris Proctor and the Sandbox team have got it toned down where it's more about how good you are with your weapon. Now they're going to reverse all that when Final Shape comes out. I mean, why tease us with this gunplay meta and you're just going to unleash the floodgates? Which brings me to my final point. My pal, Luke Smith, opened up the Vidoc.
Oh, God.
I wonder if I'm curious if that warrant against me I think it's expired now. I might be able to go visit him again and ask some questions. Anyway, he did speak, at the very beginning of the Vidoc. It was like Grandpa coming from the mountain. You know, you're like, Grandpa, tell us more. And, he looks good, by the way. Luke Smith looks good. Looks like he's been working out, man. He lost a lot of weight.
Do you not think Luke Smith is morphing into Luke Skywalker?
I don't know.
He looks like old Luke Skywalker now.
All I can tell you is he had a robe on, and I swear that was not his lightsaber. But anyway, that's another point. But he did mention that Destiny 2 it was like he was reassuring everybody that what you're about to see, Destiny 2 is not going anywhere. But after the final shape, after we defeat the whatever, the witness at the end of that strike, that they're going to tell us more. And a part of me thinks that there's this, like at the end of Destiny 1, remember when you had that one modifier where you can use all your stuff all the time? It was like bang, 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 let's go. Throw grenades everywhere, all that stuff. Right at the end of Destiny 1. I'm just saying, when Father Grandpa was coming off of the mountain, Luke Smith, to tell us, everything's going to be fine after you watch this Divide doc, leads me into our first topic for tonight. We're going to get into that, but first I have my mandatory bathroom break, so we'll be right back. Hey, just a quick reminder that we have several Destiny 2 clans, and we invite all of you to be a part of it. If you're looking for a home to share your Destiny experiences, now would be a great time to jump in and get to know some of these great gamers. We're here for the community and friends you make along the way, and no hardcore restrictions. And enjoy what time you have for Destiny is all we ask. So if you're looking for a clan out there, join our Discord. That's discord.gg/GuardianDownCast, and just reach out to a mod and we'll open the door for you. So join us. And later, Guardian. All right, so that brings us to our very first story of the night, and that's Mr. Monkey. Mr. Monkey, what do you have for us for the roundtable tonight?
So what I was hoping to bring to the roundtable was whether or not we should have a D3. But the video that we had earlier this week, depending on when you're listening to it, on Tuesday, and various other leaks, kind of suggests we are getting a D3. It's now more, it's not about whether we're getting it, it's when we're going to get it. So when I'd originally first thought about bringing this topic to the roundtable, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. I'd listened to the TGH guys, so kind of big shout out to Kingsley Sin, Cato and Rodimus, who'd kind of poked and prodded my thoughts on what I'd like to see within D3, hearing them talk about it. But now it is, I think, more about when we're going to get it. If we launch it too late, or if Bungie launch it too late, it's going to feel way redundant. People are going to have moved on. They're going to have fallen in love with other games, may not ever come back. If they launch it too soon, it's going to feel like a kind of Destiny 2.5. It's not really going to be the invigoration that I think we all need and want. I think a lot of us have been playing the game since D1, early D2, even recently, and it starts to feel a little bit tired. It starts to feel a little bit repetitive. It starts to feel like we hear all the bleats in the community about recycled content. So it's all about when they release it and how it looks when they release it. So what I'd like to bring to the round table is not necessarily do we need a D3, but if a D3 comes out, when would we like to see it and what would we like to see featured in it? So I've compiled a little wish list of things that I'd like to see, and I'd value the thoughts of my peers on the roundtable and also everyone else in the Discord to comment on their thoughts on how they'd like to see D3 look and feel. So a few of my ideas are not particularly original, and some of them might be a little bit controversial. So initially, my thoughts were, I'd really, really like a fresh start. I really don't want to see any content from D1 or D2 or Destiny and D2. Sorry, but I want to see no returning races, no returning planets, no returning characters, no returning weapons. I don't want any nostalgia at all within the game towards the earlier versions of Destiny. I think it's absolutely fine for Bungie to say, we're making D3. It's going to bring the gunplay that you love, the space magic you love, but nothing else. I don't want to be going on a mission to go to a planet and you find a corpse clutching Gjallarhorn, and that's how they bring Gjallarhorn back into the game. Because I think nostalgia's, in my opinion, kills a little bit of D1 and D2. Because as soon as they open the door to bring in one game, one gun, one exotic, something from earlier versions, it opens the floodgates to everything. People are saying, well, what about this? What about that? I really don't want to see anything brought forward at all from D1 or D2. I just want a fresh start, fresh lore, fresh characters. Bungie are incredible world builders. They create great narrative. They create great gunplay. Just let them start from fresh. Don't let them be shackled down by what they thought was a good idea 10 years ago. Or if you take out development, probably 14 years ago. Let's just start from afresh. My second wish is that they make it simple. And I think that should be the watchword for the game. Simple. I ran a last wish 2 weeks ago with Fluffy and some of the other guys, and we put in a code for the get the gun just after Morgoth. And we got to the chest, and Anakat, shout out to Kate, great player, great raider, was helping Fluffy get the ship in the chest. And she asked him, well, have you got the key? And he said, which key? And he went through his inventory and he got about 7 or 8 different types of key. Bungie need to learn from mistakes that they've made or decisions that they made 7 or 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 14 years ago, whatever, about what looked good in a live environment and build upon that. So I think the watchword needs to be simple. There needs to be simple economies, simple buying options. It really just needs to be pared back, because I think as Destiny's grown, it's become more and more complicated. Everybody within this roundtable has played Destiny for probably combined maybe 50 years. If you add on our aggregated experience, we struggle to know what to help the new player with, because their experience is nothing like what our experience was. So Bungie really, really need to simplify it. My third wish is that it must never be free to play. Free to play broke the game. Free to play was a bad decision made possibly by what Activision wanted at the time. But again, I really don't want to see them. I think it just needs to be a simplified business model of it's an annual payment, or you buy the game, you buy the whatever it needs to take you through to the end of the year. But please don't make it free to play. My fourth wish, this is getting a little bit like the wish wall, is that they need to ditch the old gen, or what is currently described as the old gen. Depending on when Destiny 3 comes out, I'm hoping that they do Into the Light, they do the episodes, we have a year break, and then that's it. By that time, PS5 and the current Xbox generation will be current gen lapsing into old gen. They need to drop PS4 and the previous Xbox generation to let the game survive. My final two, one of which has been discussed many, many times, and when we open up to the rest of the panel, and I guess the wider community, specifically aimed at kind of Gator, Rolfie and Hades, who are far, far better PvP players than me, is I think they need to drop PvP. I think if they announced a standalone proper PvP game, not Marathon, which is turned into Overwatch, but a PvP game with leagues, map voting, etc. as a standalone game, it would really, really help D3 keep it as a separate environment. So they're not having to worry about balancing weapons, not having to worry about balancing power, anything like that. It's completely separate. And my final wish, which I'm sort of toying with slightly, is I think there should be enforced sunsetting. I think that every year, everything you've got should just be sunset. So if you weren't there for it, and I think we're going to talk about FOMO a little bit later on, but if you're not there when it was there, tough. Just move on. I think bloat and hanging on to things has really damaged the game long term. And I think if D3 is going to last 10 years, we just really need to get rid of the idea of hanging on to things just for the sake of it might become relevant a little bit later on. So that's my thoughts. I'd like to hear what the rest of the panel think.
Thank you, Mr. Monkey. Man, that was well prepared. Thank you, sir. Let's go around the horn. Who wants to start with when you want it to come out and what your wishes are when it does come out? Ralphie, you had your hand up first. What's up?
I feel mixed on this, if I'm honest. I completely agree with some of your points, Mr. Monkey, but I'm in a slightly different boat in I enjoy the lore behind the game. So I want the game to feel completely fresh, but I'd quite like a nod back to some of the current D1 and D2 lore that we've got in there. And again, I completely agree. I don't think any of the weapons from D1 or D2 should be reprised for a D3. But I'd quite like there to be just a tip of the cap back to some of the characters, some of the areas. I'm not even saying that we have to have them as playable areas, just something that links back to D1 and D2. For me, D3 needs to have new areas, planets, and also come with new lore as well. If we were to move it totally away from everything that we currently know, I feel like that could slightly diminish the franchise. And the reason I say that is because we've had 10 years of Destiny now, and this is the Destiny that we know and love. So I want it to be fresh, but I also want there to be something that still links us back to the game that we've all put thousands of hours into up to now. So the way in which I thought about D3 is, could you turn the timelines back? Could we take D3 and revert it back to something that's almost not medieval, but could we look back at all of the events that have been brought forwards into the lore, such as sort of Fundament and Twilight Gap? So we would have the characters that we know and love, but it would be hundreds of years before their current status that they're in the tower for. The way in which I envisage it is almost like Warlord's Ruin, and the introduction of Warlord's Ruin to me was amazing. I really loved the environment. I still love the environment. I think the environment in which they're built is almost a castle medieval feel to it. So why couldn't we look at the weapons and let's go back to using crossbows and catapults? And I know it takes part of the space magic out of it, but you could still leave an element of that in there. I mean, you could still use all of our subclasses just in a learning stage almost. So Guardians are getting used to their powers and trying to find the best ways in which to use things. So that's kind of the way I'd like D3 to go, almost towards the golden age of Destiny, in which we've heard and read so much about. But in game, we've had nothing. All we do is hear about it. I would actually quite like to fight some of those battles, be alongside some of the vendors that we've got in the tower, enjoy, going through the story with them. Not necessarily as the Guardian we are now. We could be a Guardian back in the Twilight Gap times. Mm-hmm. Again, weave in sorcery and space magic because that's part of the game. That's what we love. But it doesn't have to be the same what we're doing now. Weave in some puzzles, weave in some, some sword fights or something that's brand new to us that feels like it's a D3-esque type move, but looking back on the timeline and weaving it into that. When we talk about free-to-play, I completely agree, because I don't think free-to-play did anything beneficial to the game that we look at now.
Hey, it brought in lots of cheaters.
Yeah, if that's a positive thing, then they've done really well. To me, I'm quite traditional in the way in which I look at Destiny. I think a free-to-play needs to be a game demo, and that game demo needs to be released post-beta. Once everything's good, let people have a flavour of what the game's going to look like, but let them just do one mission. And then if that's enough to attract them into the game, then buy the game. Realistically now, the free-to-play games that are available on Steam and Xbox, they are limited, and they're also nowhere near as graphically amazing as Destiny. They are limited in what you can do. It tends to be the Battle Royales, and I'm going to mention Fortnite. But if you look at Fortnite as a game compared to what Destiny offers free to play, Fortnite you can shoot people in the face. Destiny, you can almost involve yourself in a full universe of different storylines, narratives. You get a lot for the free to play element outside of what the paid elements are. So that would be my opinion on the free to play stuff. PvP, I'm one of these people that I'm not good at PvP at all, but I play it because I enjoy playing versus players. And to me, I know, Getty, you've mentioned this before, like, PvP should be a gun game. So I would like PvP to still be available within the game, but let's maybe completely strip it back. Let's look at set loadouts. Let's look at, no abilities, no use of space magic. Let's actually try and find the people that are good at aiming down sights and shooting each other people in the face. I think that's something. I don't want to give too much of a nod to Call of Duty, because obviously what they do is completely, vastly different to what Destiny offers. But what they do well is you have set loadouts that you can roll in with. It's customizable, but still you're using an assault rifle. You're using a grenade launcher. You're playing within the limitations of the game, whereas Destiny has just gone completely the other way, and there is no limitations to what you can offer in Destiny. And unless you're using a meta loadout, in PvP, you don't stand a chance. And people that want and are good at PvP, they're the people that will go on YouTube and they will watch the big streamers and they will find that meta loadout and they will absolutely trash within PvP. So I agree that it should be taken out in certain elements, but I think if Bungie were to, again, Mr. Monkey, using that word, simplify PvP, I think that would make for a much better environment for the newer players as well as the veteran players within the game. So that's how I feel on the subject anyway.
Good points. Good pencil. Hades, I think you had something to say. You're chomping at the bit there. What do you got on this?
Yes. I've actually got more notes off of his topic than I do from mine, which is probably not a good sign, but hey. First one, the not having any of the old stuff. Everyone here is fully aware of my opinion of a very specific bow that I would cry if I didn't have in this game. But I agree. a lot of what we've got with, you've got your apprised raids, you've got your apprised weapons. I mean, I never really played enough. I played like a month's worth of Destiny 1. So Galahorn, it's just got like 20 kills on it. I don't know if I've actually done the cash list on that. I wouldn't know. I don't use it. I use the newer stuff. I use what I picked up and kind of got out of it. A lot of the old stuff is kind of meh to the newer players. The lore of it, I completely agree with Rolfie. If they took the lore out of Destiny, I'd get bored. Sure, don't continue with what we've currently got going, but the callbacks to stuff like Razor Lazer and the Golden Gun, that the stories that we haven't touched, they need to stay relevant. They need to keep on going and being built out of it, because it's a massive part of Destiny. Those little off-cut stories that have been mentioned for a decade. If they're not involved, it's not going to be as good as it is. And the areas, you can't really have a game based on England and not have somewhere like the EDZ and Cosmodrome there. You need somewhere to find people. You need to have some of that little kind of homely feel to it. Be it continue the places that we've been playing at for however many years, or be it just somewhere similar. But I think we need to keep the people in it. We need to have the stories of like Shaxx. We need that sameness, or it's going to just be a completely different game. Which, as you and Rolf, you said, you pick up a different game, it can try and be Destiny. But if it doesn't have the Destiny-ness of it, it's not going to be Destiny. You're going to come back to Destiny 2 and completely ignore Destiny 3.5, whatever they're calling it. Free to play, I disagree. I'm here because of free to play. I only picked this game up because it was free. There's enough of it that it's not a free to play game. There's enough to get people in, get people hooked, and then they go, do you know what? I'm going to buy more. My little brother has bought everything in Destiny for 40 quid because he played the free to play. I paid, I don't want to know, 400 or 500 quid's worth of it for the same content, but I don't regret a penny of that. But I wouldn't have been there if it wasn't free. Getting rid of the old gen stuff, definitely. We've hit the point that as much as I'm fully aware there are people in our community that are still old gen, and they're people that I wouldn't be anywhere near the point that I'm at without. PlayStation 5 has been around for like 4 years now. The PlayStation 6 is going to be out probably before the end of Destiny 2. We can't keep it going because the consoles don't cope. Fire up a PlayStation 4. I've got one downstairs that if I even look at it, it sounds like a jet engine trying to take off. PvP, I need it. Don't take it away from me. That I can just turn my brain off and shoot people. And it needs to keep the space magic because it is Destiny. If you take space magic out of PvP, you're playing Call of Duty with a weird gun. I need to be able to turn invisible and still be shot at because people can still see me. I need to walk around a corner and go, oh bugger, that is an ice turret. I need to get out of here because I don't know about other people. I have still not figured out how to unfreeze myself. It does not work. I can press that button 5 million times. It does not unfreeze. It's that little bits of Destiny that is Destiny. It's the bits that we need to keep because you can send me in with the Monarch if I can't turn invisible and then shoot someone and go, hey. I'm not gonna do it. I'll sit in the corner and PvE and just shoot at people instead. It doesn't seem to have the same effect when I'm sat in a raid shooting Heyoka in the face with Trinity for 20 minutes while we wait for him to actually finish going to the toilet and doing whatever. He doesn't die.
The old man hate is real today.
I'm half his age. I'm allowed to say that. It's a lot of the familiarity, because if I can't get those exotic things proccing and do it, I'm just not going to use an exotic gun, at which point, again, I'm in Call of Duty. I played Call of Duty for years. If I pick up a pulse rifle and it goes bang, 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 if it doesn't turn me invisible and blow up the universe, it's not Destiny. Mm-hmm. Sunsetting, that's the thing we'll get to at some point. I've got a lot to say on sunsetting.
Okay.
A lot to say on sunsetting. But yeah, I'll let someone else complain for a bit and try and stop articulating.
I want to hear from average D2 player. I want to know what he thinks about all this. What do you think, ABD?
Well, first things first. Yes, let's get rid of PvP. Let's make Destiny 2 great by getting rid of PvP. Destiny 2 doesn't need PvP. I'm sorry, but they can't even get it right when it is in the game. So you might as well just completely remove it. Everybody can move on with their lives, and we can all stop raging at other people cheating, etc., etc. I'm not great at PvP, as you can probably tell. I do sometimes enjoy sort of going into it, but only when there's a weapon that I want. That's pretty much the only reason why I go into PvP. So, I mean, people are probably shouting skill issue at the podcast right now, but hey, I completely agree that Destiny 2 would survive without PvP. A lot of people don't think it will, but I really do think it. When you actually see the population of PvP in Destiny 2, it ain't actually really that big compared to PvE players. So I rest my case. So yeah, Mr. Monkey, I completely agree there. Get rid of PvP. No PvP is needed in Destiny 3. I also definitely agree with at least current and next gen only. I think we definitely need to move away from the PS4 and the Xbox One. It was like, the PS3 and the Xbox 360 used to hold back Destiny 1. So as we moved away from that, we got 60 frames, we got 4K, we got all the lovely stuff that we have now. So I definitely agree that, Destiny 3, if you're not going to make it next gen only, because all depending on when it comes out will obviously depend on the sort of rate that people actually buy the next gen consoles. So if your install base is not that big on next gen consoles at the time that Destiny 3 is released, I think you need to keep it on at least the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. I think they're more than capable machines to run them at good graphics and good settings anyway. So, completely agree with that point. Sunsetting. I kind of do agree and disagree with that. I mean, when you actually see how many weapons we have in Destiny 2, how many legendaries and blues and greens that we have, there is just way too many weapons. So I completely agree that I think a lot of those weapons do need to go. I think personally though, exotics should stay, because let's be fair, they are exotics, regardless of how old they are. Personally, I would like every single Destiny D1 exotic back in Destiny 2. Just because the tower got destroyed when Destiny 2 started up, I'm sure there's pretty much a load of exotic weapons still out there in the world. So I can't honestly understand why every exotic from D1 has not been brought over from D2. I think sunsetting is good, to get rid of a lot of the rubbish that is available in Destiny 2 right now. But I think for exotics, they should stay. There should be no sunsetting of exotics. And every single exotic that was ever in the game should cross over because they're exotics. They're special, I think I kind of do and don't agree with the free to play. I think it was Gator said, it did bring in a lot of the cheaters, in PvP. So that was probably the bad point of it. But then, like you obviously said, Hades, you're here because of free to play. So, it does obviously bring in new players. Obviously the new player experience isn't great, but obviously we'll get onto that eventually. So yeah, I think Mr. Monkey, you do make some good points. Some I do agree with, others I don't. But I think you're never going to please everybody. People are going to agree with you on some and not others. So I'm not quite sure about hard reset as well, because from what I gather, you're sort of saying that Destiny 3 should just be a complete restart, like almost. I mean, you might be able to clear this up, but almost like Destiny 1 and 2 pretty much didn't exist. Is that what you're kind of sort of hinting towards? So literally Destiny 3 is a complete brand new game?
Yeah, so not necessarily didn't exist, but Bungie builds really good worlds. They build really good gunplay. What I don't want to see them be is shackled by what came before. And I think that's kind of where my thought process was in terms of we've spent 10, 12, 14 years with these characters, and listening to what kind of Rolfie said about the lore, I'm really, really invested with the lore, but I think Bungie have taken what they can do with those characters about as far as they can. And that's where I'd like to see almost like a brand new reset. Let their teams create new lore, new characters with slightly less expensive voice characters or actors, and just let them create something fresh rather than be shackled by having to have a big whiteboard saying this person doesn't like that person because of something that happened 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought you pretty much meant, to be fair. I think you could certainly turn it around with a brand new Vanguard. You could almost say that the old Vanguard all retired and you've got your new Titan, Warlock and Hunter Vanguards. You could definitely freshen it up with that. But I think you definitely need a nod to some of the old members, of the Vanguard. So it kind of keeps it relevant for all the Destiny veterans out there. But yeah, I think, almost like a hard reset of the universe, but still keeps some of the stuff we all know and love. I think a Vanguard reset would be good. Fresh new Vanguards, fresh new faces. No, Drifter shouldn't be Vanguard of the Vanguard. Definitely not. Drifter can just disappear. Nobody really cares about Drifter, along with Gambit as well, to be fair. I love Gambit, but let's just face it, Gambit's not ever going to improve. So anyway, that's a different tangent.
Drifter's the only character I want to say keep.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I know he's not the most popular man in Destiny 2, but... So, yeah, okay. So that's what I'm kind of sort of there. There are my thoughts on what Mr. Monkey's covered.
Okay, well done. Hey, Ilka, what do you think?
I'm not going to say a lot, but it's hearing all of this is really making me think: who would a D3 be for? D3 be for? No, who would it be for? B4. Is it for us, aging, gentlemen?
Shall I say it? Who's this for? Who's this for?
Whose hands hurt at the end of a raid because is it for the next generation of us coming through who are going to come in at D3, who are then going to play it for 10 years or whatever? And how do they attract them? If it's called Destiny 3, what is the Destiny aspect of it? What are we keeping? Is it the lore? Is it characters? But I want something that I can't even imagine that it's going to be like. Yeah, they've accumulated so much junk. You've got to get rid of it. They've got to simplify. I completely agree. I'm PvP ambivalent. I can play it, whether it's there, it's not. I don't mind so much.
Right.
But I'm thinking it's about who is it for? Are they going to target us? Are they going to target all those kids that are coming off Fortnite and want to play another type of game? They want to become warlocks, whatever. What do we keep it? And it has to be them. It has to be the new generation of Destiny players coming through. You can't target us. I've just turned 50. Well, I'll be playing it as long as I can. But my brain can't keep up with it. And I think that's the bigger question for me is who is it going to be, who is it going to be for? Who do they need to target for a D3? But there needs to be some thread. That thread might be lore. But I want it to be something I can't even imagine. It has to be so much better.
It's one thing I've always counted on Bungie is they have great imagination. They have great artistry. They have great creative minds over there, and I hope that never goes away. But yeah, I agree, man. That's a good point. It's a good point. Rolf, you wanted to add something after Average Day 2 was talking?
Yeah, and it was. I'm not going to take up much time on this, but being a lore nerd, there is obviously all the core vendors that we have in the game, but to me, there is a lot more story that we haven't seen. So let's look at the story of Drifter in detail, and we read about it in the grimoire and the lore that we get alongside weapons and armor. But I would really love to play some of that. And some of the background characters we hear a lot about, but we don't really get to engage with them. Every time we engage with them, it's a raid boss, it's a dungeon boss, it's something that we go to work our way through encounters, attack and kill. It'd be nice to see some of the background of their stories and actually get involved with it. And that's, again, going back to what I said about D3, I think there is a lot we could play alongside the history of Destiny that could almost be built into another game. And whether or not that is D3, could be something that we do alongside D3 even. But there's still a lot of unexplored stories that we hear about, but don't actually ever get to see. So that was the only thing I was going to add.
Okay. Good points. Good points. Oh, man, where to start on this topic? When Mr. Monkey brought this topic to me, my mind was just racing. There's all kinds of things I could say here, but I'll keep it pretty brief. You guys know that my predictions are pretty conservative. I don't try to go out there too far when I predict things. So I mentioned this on past podcast. That was sarcastic, by the way. The listeners didn't catch on. On my last couple episodes, I think I was, speculating when I think this will roll out, because there was a big leak on Twitter, or actually from the Destiny the Game Reddit, and the username was just a bunch of numbers, which makes me even believe it more, because they're not looking to be popular or have their 15 minutes of fame. I think this is someone leaking it from the studio, and this person has been credible before, and they're the ones that talked about there being a Prism subclass that was leaked before from this person. So I have to give a little bit of credibility to this leak, and it may be totally false, but it was actually released on Twitter by Destiny Leaks. And they said that Bungie's been working on Destiny 3, whatever, since Witch Queen, which means they already have a 2-year head start, which leads me to think that Destiny 3, I'm just going to say Destiny 3 because I don't think it's going to be called Destiny 3. I think Destiny 3 is not too far away. Let's just put ourselves together here in what's coming down the pike, right? We got Final Shape on June 4th, and then probably 2 or 3 weeks into the Final Shape, maybe sooner, we're going to roll right into the first episode. It's going to come right alongside whenever it's going to open up as soon as the witness is disposed of, however way that disposal is going to be made. And Luke Smith talks about that at the beginning of this Vidoc this week, which leads me to think that the witness is not going to die. I still am standing by this prediction. I think the witness is going to somehow escape through a portal or some kind of time jump. Maybe the Vex get involved. I'm not sure exactly how they put this all together, but I am wondering if this Final Shape is going to be like the end of Destiny 1, where the stranger just disappears, and then we're just like, what the hell? Where do we go from here? And then, of course, we know what goes from there after that, because they started doing the DLCs and the different, the different expansions after that. And we know that Bungie has gone back and forth on how they put Destiny together. We've read the novel that talked about how there was internal strife within the company. But here's how I still see it happening. I think after the Final Shape, once we do whatever to the witness, the raid that's dropping in the expansion, Final Shape expansion, I think somehow we're going to be portaled somewhere totally new. And all we're going to get is a flash screen of all new planets, all new orbits, all new universe. And we're going to go, where are we? ... Destiny 3. But they're not going to do Destiny 3 this year because they're not ready to put Destiny 3 out. So what are they going to do? They're going to placate us with some backstories called episodes. There's going to be one about Vex, which I've talked to Blackbird about. It could be Sundaresh. Her story may come out as far as what actually happened back then. It may be a flashback story. Then we go into the Scorn, right? And then finally they deal with it's Hive. So we either have to think, is that Zivu or Wrath, or are we coming back to deal with Savathun again now that she's mortal, or she doesn't have a throne world to disappear to anymore. Maybe we catch up with her. All that aside, I think if you push forward the months that everything has been delayed, that means that with these episodes, we're going to wrap back around to June of 2025. When what will happen after that? I think that's the $1 million question, is after that third episode is done, what's coming after? Is there going to be a fourth episode? Are we going to have 2 more stories, or are we going right into Destiny 3? And I think what's going to happen, I think 2025 is going to be the year for Marathon for Bungie. I think they're going to try to create as much hype around the game. I don't think it's going to be coming across as strictly a PvP shooter. I think they're going to try to get more people who don't play PvP involved somehow in this marathon. Maybe it's some kind of community building process or something. I mean, look at what Helldivers has done with the community, with the live community game. Maybe they're already thinking that way. And then I think what's going to happen is right after, let's just go ahead here, in 2025, we're going to have the Summer Games Fest. I think we're going to get a couple more episodes. And I think at the Game Awards at the end of 2025, we're going to get that sneak peek on Destiny 3. 2026 is still my prediction will be when Destiny 3 comes out. If you think about it, it's already been 2 years since The Witch Queen. So we're 2 years in now. They've been working on Destiny 3 according to this leak. That means they have basically a year and a half to 2 more years to work on Destiny 3. So that means they've been working on it 4 years by the time it comes out. And that is enough time to make a really good game. That is still my prediction. As far as PvP, Mr. Monkey, I love you, but you can't get rid of PvP, man. Because there's one thing of Destiny magic is being able to find a gun that you get dropped in a strike and immediately go try it out in PvP against a Guardian. Because that's what the Crucible is all about. It's all about testing your will with the weapons in game against your fellow Guardians. That's what Shaxx created all this for.
I did say it was a slightly controversial, more conversational topic.
I know.
The one thing that, and I will shut up in a second, the one thing that I would be very interested to see is how many people who were excited when Marathon was first announced as a extraction, quite hardcore PvP shooter, feel now that it seems to have been pivoted to a character, a hero-led Overwatch clone. Because that's my only experience of hero-led shooters would be Overwatch.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested to see where the communities, and I'm not seeing a lot on it, but I think a lot of people felt that Marathon would become a lot more sort of hardcore
PvP.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily see that a hero-based shooter will be that kind of level.
I've even heard ARG, as far as Marathon, something involved more of the community. I don't know, where we collect clues and put stuff together like they did in Destiny 2, which was, people love that stuff. I guess we just don't know enough about Marathon. My God, that song still bangs around in my head. That was such a great song for that trailer. You know me, man, with all the synthesizers and stuff, that's right up my alley. But I think that magic of grabbing a gun in game and being able to go and test it against Guardians, I don't think that'll ever go away. Now,
is it worth, though? Would you sacrifice that feel for if Bungie announced a 100% PvP focused game that was built from the ground up for PvP with map voting, proper competitive mode, still having fun modes in it like Mayhem, but you kind of keep them to the side. Iron Banner, Trials. If it was all built from the ground up, but it was a separate game, would you take that?
See, here's the problem I have, Mr. Monkey, with a PvE only game, is we're major consumers of content, and I don't know if they can keep up. And they do repeatable content in PvE. It's called Strikes playlist, Gambit. Well, Gambit, we don't even know what Gambit is, but the Strikes playlist. How many times has anybody been playing Strikes? Going back to the Strike playlist, I look at Strike bounties and I'm like, what can I do in the world to get these Strike bounties done without having to do a strike? What's wrong with that picture? I don't want to run a strike. I just don't. It's just boring, repetitive content. You know where the enemies are coming. Even Nightfalls. Eventually, if you run enough Nightfalls, you know where the enemies are coming. You know what champion's going to be coming after you. You're already standing there ready. You've memorized it. You've memorized the plot. I just am afraid that if they do a PvE only game, that they will have a problem keeping people sticking to it. Because
I slightly disagree, but I'm going to shut up. But the 2 points I'd kind of say on that is, look at what Helldivers is doing. Mm-hmm. Only PvE, completely curated, bring in new content constantly.
Right.
About where threats are, and look at what Into the Light launched with dropping Tormentors in a random public event,
right? That
no one knew that were in there. If they could curate by hand strikes,
I see your point,
and drop fresh content in there, because they're not having to worry about balancing PvP or put a strike force on PvP because PvP is failing.
Mm-hmm.
There's extra resource in there. That's all I'm saying.
I understand where you're coming from. You could have a game master that is in charge of secretly putting things out into the world of Destiny, right? I think that the old model for Destiny and Destiny 2 is tired. I think it's time to move on to something else. I agree. And maybe that might be the route to go. I just really have a hard time believing that they're going to separate out PvP. Me and Hazel, we argued about this ad infinitum because he's not a PvP guy and I was. And I'm like, dude, you can't get rid of PvP. That's when your PvE stuff gets slow, people jump into Iron Banner on the weekends and BS with their friends. It's just something that keeps engagement in the game. And I don't know if you look at even Onslaught right now, when people get the LC's rifle and it has Headseeker and Over Under or Headseeker and Frenzy or whatever what's the first thing people go to YouTube to look for? How's this work in PvP? Can I they farm these weapons. I don't think they're farming these weapons to see how well they can do in a strike. I think they're farming them to see how well they can work in the Crucible. Mm-hmm. And I may be a small subset of those people, but
I kind of brought the PvP element in because I know it's been discussed before, so it's not unique.
Right.
Just as more of a talking point, because I play PvP badly every week. I play quite a lot of PvP badly. And it's not necessarily that I want to see it removed, but if it benefited the overall health of the game, 100% I'd see it removed.
See, I think there are no bad PvP players. I think there's people who haven't played it enough and learned from how to play. That's another topic. You haven't
played with me recently.
And I'm telling that's another topic, and I have videos I'm coming out with on this topic too. So it's a passion project of mine, to say the least. I agree with the consoles. I think they're already building for the PlayStation 6. I think they already have dev kits, I'm sure. And here, I'm going to mention this last thing, and this drives it home. Do you think in this economy and in this global universe that Sony Entertainment purchased Bungie for billions of dollars for a 10-year-old game? Seriously, do you think they spent billions of dollars because Destiny 2 seems to be a cool game right now and they've got people tied in for 10 years? No. I'm telling you, Bungie opened the hood and says, here's what we got cooking. And Marathon was probably in there too, but I bet you Destiny 3 was in there too. I bet you they had some kind of dev kit or something that they showed Sony, and Sony was impressed. I still think that's the reason they pulled the trigger, and I still think that's the reason they spent billions of dollars on this little studio. And let's face it, it's not an enormous studio. It's kind of in the middle. It's like, 1,000 people now? Well, under 1,000. Well, right about 1,000 people. It's a medium-sized studio, but I just don't see Bungie I don't see Sony putting all of their cards into one studio unless they saw something in the future that really perked their ears up. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I mean, I knew this topic would go a while, so I tried to keep my mouth quiet as long as I could, but that was a great topic, Mr. Monkey. I mean, to start off on this topic was fantastic because this seems to be what's hot right now on social media. Is there going to be a Destiny 3? What's going to happen, But we have other topics we want to talk about tonight, and we're going to get to that right after my second mandatory bathroom break. We're right back. Hey, Guardians, would you like to give back to our community? If you received any value from today's podcast episode and would like to give back, head over to our website, GuardianDowncast.com, and select the Patreon button to see what extra perks and benefits you can get from the several tiers of membership available. If you would like to give a one-time donation, click on our PayPal button and follow the prompts. Our community runs on our membership, and we never accept outside sponsors or advertisers. We're Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. For our number 2 topic of the night, we have Mr. Average Destiny 2 player, and it is another Destiny topic. So, AVD, I'll turn it over to you, sir. What do you got on the roundtable tonight?
Thank you very much. Well, my topic for tonight is the new light experience, because obviously we all know that has slightly changed just recently with the introduction of the skippable campaign option, which means you can now actually fly straight to the tower instead of having to run around the Cosmodrome for Shoreham. So that's obviously another option for new players that are entering Destiny 2. I'm not exactly probably the best option unless you've got a lot of friends to play with, but anyway, we'll get to that eventually once I put a few other points across. So anyway, so the new light experience, as we know, it's not the greatest experience in the game at the minute. A lot of people do think it could do with a revamp. There's a lot of convoluted and confusing systems that are not very well explained. So I think it could definitely do with, being looked at, perhaps maybe being reworked and reintroduced. So anyway, I saw an interesting video the other day, which I watched, and I kind of thought, well, actually, he makes a lot of good points when it comes to the new light experience. The basic premise of it is he introduced somebody to Destiny 2 who has never, ever played the game before. Has only ever heard of it, but never actually ventured into it to play it. So he let them run around on their own, didn't really help them out too much if he didn't need to, because obviously he just wanted to get the feedback from somebody who's never played it before, just to see what they thought of the new experience. So, I mean, the trouble sort of immediately starts right off the bat. Obviously, logging into Destiny 2 the first time. You don't get straight to the character screen. New players are actually hit with quite a lot of pop-ups before they even get to create a character. So, if starting the game for the very first time, a lot of pop-ups are quite irrelevant and could overwhelm a lot of people, not really explaining what the game's about. It's just a lot of, do you want to enable cross-play? Do you agree to this setting? Do you agree to that setting, et cetera, et cetera? So to be hit immediately with a load of pop-ups before you even start getting to the main menu, or even the character screen, could overwhelm quite a lot of new players. So perhaps maybe tone down on the pop-ups at the very beginning. So after obviously the main cutscene from Destiny 1 introducing the Traveller, there is another trailer immediately after that lasts around 5 minutes, informing new players of the entire Destiny story. And it basically covers the major events in the Light and Darkness saga. Interesting fact, the cinematic was actually created a few years ago, but it was only ever uploaded to YouTube. all the comments on YouTube were practically screaming at Bungie to say, please put this in the game for new players to know WTF what's going on. So eventually they obviously got round to it and did. It's kind of a shame that obviously it took a barrage of comments on YouTube for this to be included, but, better late than never, as they say. So obviously then once you've created your character, you finally get into the game, you run the very first mission. The game does give some excellent pointers on how to move, jump and sprint, and how to pick up a weapon and how to use a melee attack and throw a grenade, which, let's be honest with you, is the basic controls of this game. It seemed intuitive and well designed. It makes new players get to grips with the basic mechanics with little or no trouble. This also applies on how you use your super. But interestingly, it doesn't actually explain the variations of super. So, for example, if you're a Titan, obviously the first super you get is the Fist of Havoc. Now, you're not actually told that you've got a ground slam. You're actually only told that obviously you can use your super as it is. So there's no explanation as to the heavy attack of a super. It is literally just the one super that you get told to use. There's no, you can press this for a heavy attack or you can press this for an alternative super mode. So I think some players could be running around the Destiny universe for quite a little while, not realizing that their supers actually have an alternative mode, which, let's be honest with you, some of the alternative modes are actually more powerful than the standard modes that you can use. So I think, them actually explaining the variations of the super would go down quite well. Obviously, also with the melee attack, it does explain, the difference between a normal and powered melee. But the notification only appears for a split second right in the middle of combat. Get my words out in a minute. Which, if you're concentrating on combat anyway and you don't see the message and it only pops up for a couple of seconds, you could well miss it completely. So you could, again, like the super, you could be running around the Destiny universe for quite a few hours not realizing that actually you have another melee attack. So again, something that really is simple but really should be explained. This kind of seems to be very much the theme of this conversation, what I'm going to say here. It seems as though the systems are very convoluted and confusing and a lot of them are not explained very well. But anyway, I'll get on to obviously some more of those as I get through the pointers that I've got here. Again, more or less, this is all at the very start of the New Light campaign. The game does explain about your HUD on the bottom of the left hand of the screen. Obviously, it keeps track of your abilities, but the only thing about that is it doesn't actually tell you which icon the HUD was tracking. So it doesn't actually tell you that one of the icons is your grenade, another one of the icons is your melee, and another one of your icons is your class ability. I think ideally if new players are not going to know what that is, that again could be explained so new players don't get confused, because you'd be looking at it thinking, well, stuff's going up and it's saying I've got it, but what is it that I can actually use? So that could also be better explained as well. So yeah, for new players, the HUD is a bit confusing, and it could really do with some sort of explanation as to what ability it's tracking, etc. Also, it doesn't explain what your super regeneration is, where your super bar actually is. So the HUD could just do with being explained in a lot better way than it is currently, because it doesn't actually tell you what it's tracking. So how do you know what it's tracking if it doesn't tell you? So that's obviously going to be quite confusing for new players. Something that I did learn when I watched the video was actually that the voice chat is on by default. So some new players might not actually know this. And if that is the case, that other people could hear them, they could say something wrong or say something that might get them in trouble and could actually lead to some bad situations. So perhaps maybe turn the voice chat off by default and then let them have the option as to whether they want to turn it off or not. Turn it on, sorry. So that obviously puts me on to my next point. Now, this is still only running through the very first mission, believe it or not. We're not even out of the Cosmodrome yet. noticed that sometimes the waypoint can be quite confusing. Sometimes it appears small and in the distance, and sometimes it even blends into the environment. One of the major complaints is that it actually leaves some players running around in circles, not really knowing where to go. It's also not explained to the player that the radar is in the top left-hand corner and has an arrow that points you in the right direction. And it also doesn't explain that if the the direction icon disappears, like it sometimes does, I'm sure we've probably all had that issue, you can pull out your ghost to make it reappear again. So you could probably see many new players getting frustrated at this, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do, not knowing what direction to go. So you can see new players getting frustrated and pretty much giving up on the game there, looking and saying, well, nobody's, it's not telling me where to go. I can't find out where to go. There's no arrow telling me where to go. So do you know what? I ain't even going to bother. So I think that is also one of the things that really does need to be explained. Have we got any thoughts so far on any of these points? Anybody?
I think new player side of it, I might have a little bit more input than some, being that mid-January, I took my 2 little brothers through it. And there's a lot of it that average has got on the ball, but also some of the later on stuff that we just assume. So, I mean, the skipping stuff, I'm pretty sure that's for the old lights that have got similar entertaining situation to what I had a week and a half ago, where somebody to my right here forces you to play Warlock for a week and you realise that you have absolutely nothing at all. So adding into that is, Jesus, it's so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 700,000 just to buy the bloody fragments.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That I spend most of my time at max glimmer, so that's not an issue as much to me. But Jesus, it happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I've got really badly written notes here again. That some of it is we know it, so we know what it is, or we can have someone help us and kind of hold your hand through it all. That does make it a lot easier. That other people just will never ever figure out. Like, I mean, me and Doc played solo for ever, and then suddenly we're jumping in going, what are these things? These things have been around for how long? How did I not know about these?
Mm.
The waypoint side of it, definitely. I carried the 2 of these through it, and I was going, no, come over to me. I'm sat where you are. I had my brother sat next to me, and I was literally poking the screen, going, "You see that little dot there? That explains exactly where you need to go."
Mm.
And we know it. We know that just because the radar says you go that way, you might actually have to go that way to go around a rock. So he's there going, but there's a bloody big rock in the way, and I'm going, yeah. You come round this way, you go left, you turn right, you take the 4th flight of stairs over there. You've got to climb over this balcony here. You've got to actually end up somehow on Mars, and then you turn left, and it's right there, because it is as the crow flies. But you don't get a sparrow or a skimmer.
Mm-mm.
Already used to that being a thing. You don't get a sparrow, so you can't actually get there within 20 minutes.
You're walking.
It is all really badly done.
It's one of my points for later, funnily enough.
Yep.
Yeah, why the hell do you not get a sparrow for so goddamn long?
I've run it so many times, man. I've got it memorized. It's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, later on, I turned around to my brother last time I went over there, and I was like, you Guardian rank, you've only got that one thing to do. And he turned around and he went, yeah, what the hell's the commendation? Like, what's this? I've done everything but whatever this thing is. That it doesn't explain to you what the commendations are, and you can't get them. We all got bored of it, let's be honest. When was the last time you had a random person drop you a commendation for anything?
Only the first 5
only way
to get my clan and go, man, and I'm done. I don't give them out anymore.
Yeah, I give them out all the time just because why not? But I very rarely get them because it is that extra step that everyone got bored with.
Mm-hmm.
We're now 8 months into a season.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone that needs them's already got all of them. You're sat at rank 10, you don't need them for anything else anymore.
Right.
It's a lot of things you need people for. And it's really badly done for a game that advertises itself as free to play. Because unless 12 of you drop in and 6 of you have already been playing for the last decade, you're going to miss a lot of it.
Yeah.
So it as much as like the Destiny Online people, not the game that Gator's been ranting about for the last 4 years.
That is Destiny 3, by the way. I just want to throw that in there. It is going to be called Destiny Online. I'm still sticking to that.
You're already 6 years ahead of the curve for that one. But a lot of your content creators and that, if it wasn't for them, half of Destiny wouldn't be a thing, because I found things because of them. One of the content creators being that one there. I'm going to keep calling it Scott Alexard. It's something that we're never going to, people aren't going to naturally find out. And it needs to have a pop-up for something like accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be incentivized more for us that have been playing forever. We need to get you give out 300 accommodations a week. We'll give you something that we actually care about, because if you offer me an enhancement core, I'm going to laugh at you. I've got 4 stacks of those bloody things. It needs to be like a shader, or it needs to be a emblem.
Premium
accommodation giver.
Something
that we care about.
Yeah.
Oh, raid money. Buy yourself an exotic with it.
There you go.
Make it relevant. Make it something that the people that have been playing for ages want. Not just something we'll go, yeah, whatever. That's another pop-up we'll ignore.
Right. Okay. Hey, Oka, I think you had something you wanted to say about it.
No, I was just going to pick up the point about waypoints, and that they are as the crow flies, and they need to be the immediate direction you need to go in. Whether that is putting a waypoint or putting an arrow on the floor, something that's really helpful to say, yes, you are going to go over there, but you need to get there by going this way immediately. A number of times I spent hours trying to get across some sort of ravine because the waypoint's over there without knowing that I've got to go all the way back round. Particularly when it's new material or a new area where I think, well, it's saying over there, I should be able to get there. But actually, you got to go back and look on the map, and it's in a completely different area. It's the other side of the arena. So that needs that needs to be cleared up a lot.
Anybody else want to say something about the new player experience?
Yeah, I would actually.
Okay.
What I'd be really, really interested to understand is how other games do it that are similar to Destiny. So I think the big challenge that they've got is that when they designed the new player experience, they were designing it based around what the game was at that point. The game constantly changes. And I think, as Hades said, they brought in commendations 2 years ago, I think, with Beyond Light-ish, 18 months maybe. And it's like they can't redesign the onboarding process or the new light experience every time that they do something different. So every time that they change how the HUD's going to work, and I know you covered the TWAB earlier, or TWID, or whatever you want to call it, earlier, and the changes in the HUD, they can't constantly shift the new light experience based on changes. So I'd be really interested to hear from people. I don't know if there's anyone within this roundtable who plays things like World of Warcraft. I know Nico has played a lot of World of Warcraft, so I'd value his opinion when the show comes out in terms of how games that are constantly evolving deal with an onboarding process. Because if you pick up a single-player game, the onboarding process is the tutorial level that tells you how to crouch, how to jump, all the really easy stuff. I don't know how games do it when it is a constantly shifting sandboard of what is shown on the HUD, what's not shown on the HUD, what that waypoint means. I think there's too many variables for them to do a good onboarding campaign without forcing someone to play a single player campaign when they may have picked up the game just to play PvP with their friends. I think the game's trying to be too many things to too many people. It's not a single player game. It's not a multiplayer game. I'd be really interested to hear how other games that have an ongoing updates deal with that kind of onboarding process.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's for live service games. It's a problem in the industry. From what I've heard, just from feedback from social media and videos and stuff I've watched, this is not a problem exclusively to Bungie. There's other studios that have had a hard time onboarding people as well. But Average, did you have Rafa? Did you have something you wanted to say first?
I'm going to keep mine brief because I'm not in a good position to be able to comment on the new player experience because I've ran 3 characters pretty much simultaneously since the start of D1 and D2. But I just feel that we're 10 years into this franchise now. So regardless of what Bungie try and do, the new light experience is never going to be positive because you can't pull 10 years worth of game development into one mission. And I can't see it being a positive thing for New Lights at all, because we've sort of rehashed, reused, and replaced so much content. If we look at this not just from a gameplay perspective, but a narrative perspective, it's so overwhelming, and you get 20 different quests pop up immediately in your quest tab that you have no idea where to start, where to go, who to follow, or anything. So it's almost like it's a natural point for the game. But if you were to come into it this month, I have no idea how I would deal with that at all, because there is too much to do. And even just little things like the vendors in the tower. If you're a new light, surely you're logging into that and everyone's got something flashing above their head. So where do you start?
Yeah.
The quest may appear in your quest line, but which one do you do first? There's no real guidelines on how to do that. And PvP, I'm not even going to touch because that's just a minefield. But yeah, that's the feeling I get. I feel that if I was to join the game now, I would look at the game, be massively overwhelmed by the content that it's offering, and probably take a step back because I don't think I know where to start.
Okay. Thanks for that. Average, did you have any more else you wanted to talk about on this subject? I want to make sure you got everything in that you want to talk about. I have some final thoughts, but they'll be brief.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple more pointers that I was just going to go through.
Sure.
I must admit, I probably actually wrote down more than I needed to, but it's funny because a lot of the points that have been made, obviously, that from other people are obviously points that I would cover as well, such as obviously, the quest line and stuff like that, because like Rolfie said, it is one of the major gripes in Destiny 2 at the minute is that, the new quest screen was obviously meant to kind of sort out the issues of too many quests being in your inventory. But the only problem is, the quest tab is now obviously a lot clearer than it used to be. Obviously, it now has a featured quest section that makes it a bit more obvious to new players. But sometimes the fact that the featured quests can actually be up to 4 quests at one time kind of defeats the purpose of it actually being a featured quest, because if you've got one featured quest and then you've suddenly got 4 featured quests, well, which featured quest do you kind of go for? Like you say, what is the options what is the perfect one to go for first? It doesn't actually explain that. So there's another issue with it. Completely agree on the old, the quest information that Rolfie said. It is very, very confusing. Once you've done the New Light campaign and you're into the main story again, you're hit with a barrage of, Lightfall, Shadowkeep, Beyond Light. You're just hit with this absolute barrage of new quests that you've got to do. And as a new player, where do you even start with that? I think what they really need to do is they need to simplify that and say, well, your featured quest, once you've done the New Light, is say, go do Shadowkeep. That should be your next quest, because that is the next expansion that was obviously there. It's still in the game, that was released just recently. So, I think there just needs to be a better step-by-step guide as to what quests you need to do, because you can completely lose your way once you've done the New Light campaign. And if you don't have any friends that play the game, you're just going to look at it and go, well, where do I actually start? And I think most people would get overwhelmed by that and go, well, if you're not actually going to tell me where to start, then I won't bother. So I think I agree that there is a lot of systems in this game now that, as us veteran players, we're used to. So I agree that you'd need to bring new players into the game, though, because eventually old players are going to stop playing because perhaps maybe they're either too old to play, or something comes out and they don't want to play the game no more.
I'm sorry. You're never too old to play video games.
Well, that is true. I completely agree with you there.
Sorry.
You're fine. Do you know what? My computer's just decided to go on a real... my computer's just decided to go weird, so...
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened.
Well, the thing while you're dealing with that, the one thing I wanted to mention was the worst thing a new player can do, because I, as well, tried a brand new player account on a brand new account, a free-to-play account. I wanted to see how far could I go on a free-to-play account, not spend a dime on the game. And spoiler alert, I had to buy the season pass because I needed economy. I needed the economic stuff. I needed legendary shards. I needed a lot of the things that I needed to complete the Guardian rank objectives. Now, I like that they have tied in the Guardian rank as like a checklist, but like Hades said earlier with his brothers, is they didn't know what an accommodation was. I mean, that probably should have been in the game to explain that. I mean, I knew what it was. I knew, and I think you had to receive you had to receive an accommodation, or do you have to give it? I think you had to receive it. Yeah. Cause I mean, if you have to receive it, then there's a lot of people like me that get my 5 done and then I'm dipping out of the game. So there again, you're going to have to rely on someone else to do that for you. The worst thing I think that new players could do, and I found this from people I've talked to who decided, yeah, I like this game. Now let's buy the expansions. And of course we can go down another hole as well, talking about everything you have to pay for to get all the expansions. But the worst thing they can do is start unlocking expansions, because once they do, that automatically, the next time they sign in, you will get the cutscene for that season or that content that you bought, whether it's the current season tying to it or whatever, and you were thrusted into a new story that no one knows what the hell is going on. Not to mention, when you buy the content, you start getting the flash screens. Because you bought the content, you've unlocked a new flash screen that tells you what's included with it, what you're getting with it. And then you have the weekly reset stuff that pops up also. You're right, Average D2. It just inundates you with these flash screens. And I can very well see, I've watched a video as well of someone trying it out, for the first time. And he got through, Guardian rank 5, I think. And him and his buddy were both doing it together, and they decided to go ahead and run and do a raid. They jumped into a King's Fall raid with just the two of them. And they tried for hours to try to get through that first encounter, and they couldn't understand why they couldn't get through it. Well, they had no clue that you have to have 6 people to even run the encounter, because you need to there's relays involved as far as dunking the orbs and stuff. They didn't know that. So guess what they did? They quit. Never came back into the video. And that was just disheartening to see that. So were you able to get things sorted, Average?
I did. Yeah. Sorry about that, everybody. Right. Yeah. So anyway, I think I'll finish off here because I think I've been going on for a little while. I did have quite a few more points, but I think I could be here for ages if I was trying to get them across. So,
well, yeah. I mean, I think we agree that the new player experience is a disaster. And even though they have, they've made strides, they've made an attempt, I guess I should say, with tying in the new player experience, not only this, instead of watching a 5-minute video that tries to catch you up on everything that's been going on and who's who, but now they tie it to this Guardian rank, which was, it definitely, I agree, it was a much improved from what we had to do, which was as you killed more stuff from anywhere, you would slowly unlock the planets, right? Remember that part? You slowly unlock the planets.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, well, what am I supposed to do at this? What am I supposed to do at this planet? What's it? Why did I unlocked it? Great. So what's this have to do with the game? And it was just it just left you high and dry, so to speak. So, I think that I have to agree with Rolfie here. I think Bungie realizes this game, the people who are playing this game hardcore are the people who've been there since the beginning. It's the hardcore Destiny, and they know they have a pretty good sized community still. So I think they made a pivot a long time ago and said, you know what? We have to leave them behind. But going back to Mr. Monkey's topic in Destiny 3, I really think they've learned their lesson. I think they're going to have a really good onboarding process for whatever comes next in the Destiny world. So, yeah. Good story, Average Z2. I mean, when you mentioned that topic to me, my ears perked up because, I mean, I created a whole YouTube channel on this subject, telling people what Monuments of Lost Light are, telling you how to farm for Glimmer, stuff that in the game that you just don't know how to do. But what I realized is that I probably should have gone even more basic on my videos to like, here's your HUD. Here's what this means. And I actually recorded my entire rank 1 or 0 to rank 6. I played so many hours every night, and I got a new character free to play all the way up to rank 6. And I recorded every session I did. And I thought about maybe freeze framing and rewinding and showing, what is what. But I'm like Bungie. I'm like, maybe it's just too late. Maybe we just need to cut bait and just hope that this takes, and that goes back to what Hayoka said. Who's this going to be for? Who are they going to be targeting with a Destiny 3? And I think maybe they have more new players in mind here versus the hardcore players that we've always been around and played this game, So, good topic. Good topic.
Howdy folks, this is MC Squared and you're listening to Guardian Downcast.
Part 2 will be out this Wednesday, April 17th, and we will continue on with the Roundtable episode, and we'll be discussing more topics from Hades, Rolfie, and finally, Hayoka. You won't want to miss that topic for sure. The video form of Part 2 will be out early for our patrons of the community, and that will be on Tuesday, April 16th. So check out patreon.com/support Guardian Downcast for more content and great perks in the community. I'm your host, Todd the Gator. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter X, and in the game the same way. I have another podcast, the Destiny Help Desk, where I delve into more specific topics on the Destinyverse for all Guardians from veterans to new lights. Go to destinyhelpdeskpodcast.com if you want to know more, or go to guardiandowncast.com for everything community and podcasting.
Guardians are measured by their ability to come back from defeat. So stand. Fight!
Thank you so much for listening. And later, Guardian.
confusing and convoluted and we're not talking about a complete revamp here.
Right.
It's just even some in-depth tutorials that would give you the option to learn some of the stuff in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not explained to you what Glimmer does. It's not explained to you about what your artifact does. It's not explained to you about all the separate consumables and stuff you can get in the game. You know, we're not talking about perhaps maybe a whole campaign here of telling you what to do.
Right.
But just some in-depth tutorials would be better than nothing. You know, you don't even get that. You know, just a 5-minute tutorial of telling you how to, you know, pick up bounties, what to do, you know, what these systems mean, etc., etc. That would do it, but there's just nothing in the game that explains the systems. I kind of understand where Rolfie was coming from, that there's a lot of old players in this game who know what to do, but sometimes you also need to think about new players and getting them into the game and building up the population, because eventually, if you don't get new players in, the old players are going to leave. Your game's going to die.
Yeah,
it you know, that is the fact of it. No matter what your game is, if you don't get new players in, you don't keep new players interested.
And you got to think of the future too. You got to think of bringing people in, thinking about, you know, being even in tune to even look forward to another Destiny. The best hub on the net.
Thank you, Gator.
I love saying
Good
that.
Sin impersonation.
Damn, Sin.